Can everyone hear me okay? Pretty good. Let's go ahead and get settled. Oh, Dan's here as well. Cool. I need you. Where's our friend Dr. Fierro?
Dr. Jose Fierro, please come
podium.
to the front of the room. Dr. Jose Fierro.
He left. That's right. There he is. I don't want any heckling from this group. Could be worse.
But we will tell you the best types together as there are in the world. I like your comment. That was awesome.
I knew you were up for the challenge, so. Very good. All right, I think we have everybody. We are being innovative and entrepreneurial with our schedule this morning, but we're adaptable people, right? Of course. Good morning, everyone. How are you? Welcome back to the first day of the rest of your lives, right? Oh, it's good to see everybody this morning, and just nice to have everybody back on campus. And I have to stay. I guess this is home, Hawk, right? That's where it's at, home. Home. We want to just take a few minutes and go through introductions. We've got quite a few new faces joining us this year, and so I asked my esteemed colleagues to come and join me in introducing folks. I'm going to exert executive power and go first, if that's okay with you. I have three people that I want to introduce, and I believe they're all here still. The first is our new Associate Vice President of Institutional Effectiveness, and I mean brand new. Kim Bender, are you hiding back there somewhere? Send them up. Dr. Bender joins us from Colorado State University, where he spent the last decade as the Director of Assessment. And so we're excited to have him. He's taking time out of his schedule in this transition to come up and spend a couple days with us, and we sure appreciate it. Welcome to the campus, Kim. And then Victoria, are you still here? Oh, she's still back there. Victoria Steele, our new Director of Grants and Special Projects. She's actually been here for a few months, couple months now? 2 months, but has hit the ground. 3. Has hit the ground running. It sure is nice to have her. And then I want to introduce somebody new to our IT staff as well. Jerome Espinoza. Is he here? There he is. Jerome is our much-needed database administrator, and boy, oh boy, are you going to be a nice, welcome added resource to the campus. So welcome. With that, Judy.
Oh, thank you. Pass this first. Thank you. We have several new people in student services. Some of them are new to their position, but not necessarily new to our team. Clara Bunning, is she still there? There she is. Clara is in the records office, and she is just real quickly stepping out to be with us. As you know, the records office is very busy right now. So Clara has been with us as a temp, and now she is full-time for the next year. And then we also have back there with her Misty Kossabum Swainson. And Misty has again joined us in the records office, along with Melissa Colvey. And Melissa is brand new too. The three of them kind of came within weeks of each other, and we're just thrilled to have them with our records office. But as you can see, like most of our records office is not in the records office right now, so they're going to be ducking out in a little while to help the students. So thank you very much. We also have Pete Catilli. Pete is our athletic and recreation director. He joined us like 4 months ago. It's almost 5 months ago, so he is a fixture around here now. And we're looking forward to some really exciting things from the athletics and recreation department. He comes to us from the University of Louisville, where he has been with the athletic department there and done some pretty exciting things. So we're thrilled to have him. Thank you, Pete. And then we have brand new this week, Luke Cheever. There he is. Yes, and Luke joined us. He was teaching PE and coaching baseball down in Colorado, and so we stole him back. He is from Cheyenne, and we're thrilled to have him home again. So thank you, Luke. And Julie Gersner is a business analyst, and she is with the Student Services Department. We were able to get her most recently from the State Department. She was is also a native Wyomingite, but she had a big career with Mattel doing business analytics and project management. So we're thrilled to have her help us with a lot of the things that we have going on in student services. And then we have Julie Wilson. Julie Wilson joins us from Michigan. And Julie is our new Director of Financial Aid, and she has hit the ground running. She's done some fabulous things already. She's a wizard with our colleague student information system and has us all tap dancing very fast to keep up with her. So thank you, Julie, and welcome. And that is, I think, it for student services. So thank you.
Good morning. I have several new people here. I'm going to start from the top. Corrine Reed, she's our new payroll technician, and I thought she was here.
There she
There
is.
she is over there. Not to be confused with Carlene. So we have a Carlene and a Carine in the payroll office, but either one of them can help you. And so stop by and say hi. We have Chris Corvo. He's our new campus safety officer, one of our new campus safety officers, and he is right now, I believe, working days. But he's out on patrol. We have Cindy Roman. She's a new associate teacher at the CDC. There she is. Welcome. We have two new custodians, Raymond Dykstra. And Marie, and I apologize if I don't say this right, Galuza. She's a custodian as well. And then last but not least, Nicholas Wood, who is a new electrician, so you should have seen him around.
Thanks, Carol. I forgot to introduce myself this morning. I'm Lisa Murphy with the Foundation NPR. It's the new Division of Institutional Advancement, and I only have one to introduce, so I'm going to just take a quick moment. Tucker Stover, would you please stand up and give your presidential wave? So Tucker, I need you to stay standing. Since we only have one, I have to have him turn around a little bit, and I want you all... Thank you. Now, Dr. Schaefer, if you would please go and stand by Tucker, or if you could get close. I want you all to know that people are confusing Tucker for the president.
Tucker's much better looking.
So I want you all to have an opportunity to meet Tucker. He is the Director of Corporate Development in the Foundation. He's doing a wonderful job. It took us 8 months to find Tucker. It was very hard to find him. He's doing an amazing job for us and a great fit. Took us a very long time to find him, and we hired him on April Fool's Day, April 1st. But he's been a wonderful fit for our division, a great and been just a wonderful find for us. So he's doing a great job. He and his wife, Leanne, moved here. They actually got the job on April 1st, bought a house within a week, moved here immediately. They have a 1-year-old son, Tristan, and we're just thrilled to have him. So if you confuse him for the president, that's great, actually. He has been
Especially
out.
if I'm messing up.
He's been out. He's joined Leadership Cheyenne. He's joined Rotary. He's been very active in the community already. He's been meeting with donors and meeting with corporations and helping us to make friends in the community. And he's been helping us to work with folks for our capital campaign. And so we're really moving forward rapidly, and we're glad to have him on our team. So please say hello to Tucker Stover.
Well, as the person with the shortest attention span in the school's history, I'm the newest person at Albany County campus. However, they tell me, and I have no good stories because I haven't known these people long enough to get any real dirt on them, But they tell me over there that we have 2 new people this year. One is Josh Watanabe, who is our campus safety officer, security officer, and I don't know if he's here today or
didn't
not.
make it, though.
And, oh yeah, that's right, he's being secure on our campus. So, or keeping it secure. And our other new person is Lynn Swearingen, whom many of you know. She taught English as an adjunct, both on this and women's studies. On the ACC campus and over here. So we're glad to have her as full-time person, and we stole her from another institution in Laramie, which shall remain nameless.
Well, I guess they have saved the best for last. So thank you very much for that. And I'm going to introduce a few people. They're only 4 or 5 pages. So the first one is Ian Caldon. He's our new instructor for Spanish and ESL. Next one, Nate Huseman, English instructor, interim instructor. Linda Herget, library and public service. Linda.
Oh,
Jasmine Barros, Program Assistant Center for Secondary Students. Jeffrey Perry is our new agriculture and livestock judging coach. Ashley Rawls, radiography and clinical coordinator. Lee Robertson, mathematics. Fellow runner as well. So Marie Gerlin, microbiology. Last but not least, Jocelyn Gaines. Notice that I did this in order of importance. Faculty first, now we're going to go with the deans. As you know, we have basically everyone new in these offices. So they gave me a pretty short list to read of their accomplishments, but I guess the only thing you need to know is Arun Goyal. He's from mathematics and science. He has a lot of experience in the STEM disciplines. I'm not going to read you everything. You probably saw the bio when it went via email. But he comes from a very warm place in the country, the Lut. So for him, it's here is summer every day. Then we have Melvin Hawkins, Hawk. Something that you will see with Hawk is that he's going to remind you of Pat. When the cold time gets here, he's going to wear a parka over his suit every single day. He came from South Carolina, so. Next, Terry Harper. And Terry came from also a warm place in the country. Michigan. And last but not least, the person that made the biggest move across country, Nicole Bryan. She came all the way from the basement in EEC to the English office. And that's it. Thank you very much.
thank you all and welcome again to campus. I'm going to try to swap microphones and hopefully you all can still hear me. Yes? Yes? Who?
I'm gonna blame Joe for this. He was rushing me out of the stage, and apparently I missed someone. Where is Dusty?
There he is.
Dusty Day. communications, and you can thank Joe for my oversight.
Welcome, Dusty. Jose does this all the time. You just learn to live with it. So. Oh.
What a poor job Joe is doing. Sam. He's our new welding instructor. He has been here for a week and a half. And he has been putting the welding building together. And apparently we have a full program, 15 students and 8 in the waiting list. Sam is very energetic and he thinks he can grow that program very, very fast. So thank you for being here. Well, Travis, I know you were hiding, but you've probably seen this guy before, and I think he's getting acclimated to his new status as a faculty member. So I want us to give Travis a very, very, very warm welcome. Hopefully I missed someone else. Zach, I can see you there. Zach is our new biology instructor, and he was our interim biology instructor last semester. And we're happy to have Zach full-time from now on. Thank you. I'm sure I'm gonna, someone else amazing? Anyone else? Teresa, welcome. Again.
Jose, Kelly from Red Eye to Sono.
That's how science speak.
Callie Wright, want to stand up? She just, she's been with us a little while, but she moved from radiology to sonography, and she is the new program director for that area.
Thank you very much. How many? Well, just in case, welcome everyone. We're glad you're here. Just in case I miss anyone.
Well, apparently I am doing a poor job. I did hire Jose, so. He fits right in with the wonderful banter that we have and helps keep humor at the high level. So, all right, welcome again. Good morning, everyone. It's good to see you all here. You know, I know we're supposed to sort of buck this idea of the traditional approach to education with the agrarian calendar where we take summers off and all that good stuff, but I find that summer break is so enjoyable, you know, to just get that break, that little respite. It allows time for all of us who are on campus to sort of get things ready for the faculty and our students to come back, and it creates this buzz around the start of the semester. And that buzz is almost addicting. I know many of you are feeling the stress and the anxiety, getting everything ready, your prep's done and preparing for classes, and we're trying to accommodate students. But that energy is something we need to latch on to and really try to keep it and have it hold through the semester. So I'm excited for this academic year, and I'm really looking forward to working with all of you. Before I get into my formal remarks, I just want to take an opportunity to introduce some special guests that we have here. And I'm going to start with my Board of Trustees, and I know they're back here somewhere. If all the trustees that are with us, if you'd please stand for me. There they are. The Chair of the Board, Carol Merrill, Dr. Kevin Kilty, Bill Du Bois, Ed Mosier, Don Erickson. Thank you all for all you do for the college and for coming this morning. We also have some special friends from the LCCC Foundation Board here, and would you please stand as well? So I can see you all back there. Ann Redmond, Tom Bass, George McIlvain, and Billy Adelman, thank you all for all you do for the foundation and for our students. And we have a few other guests. We have our good friend, Senator Floyd Escobel. Floyd, would you stand for us? and our friend Dan Baxter, who's been helping us navigate the financial elements of capital campaigns. So welcome and thank you all for coming. It's hot in here, isn't it? Yeah, give me a second. This is really hot in here. Yeah, I think I might need music actually when you get right down to it.
This embarrasses Dave, I think.
That feels better. Everyone's a comedian, right? So it's great to see all those blue shirts out there. Exciting time for the college. I'm going to spend, hopefully not too long, about 45 minutes, just sharing with you a little bit about how the college is doing. The perspective that we have on how LCCC is performing and the institution is doing over well. So hopefully we'll find this informational and also engaging as we go through. Let me start by talking a little bit about LCCC's fiscal affairs, how we're standing from a financial perspective. Many of you know that the legislature this last session went through and enacted cuts to almost all of the state agencies at varying levels. 6% to the community colleges alone. At LCCC, that equated to about a $1.2 million reduction in our state funding for this year, and that will continue into the future. So a significant reduction. The Community College Commission did raise tuition again, 5%. That results in a little bit more revenue for the campus. We estimate about $150,000. And they continue to set aside roughly $8 million to be allocated based on successful course completion. They started this last year was the first year. This is the second year. We have not made the ground up that I would like to see, and we'll actually lose about $50,000 because of the way LCCC ranks on successful course completion. But I think we're going to be able to make that up into the future. Local valuation is up. That's a positive perspective. So we're estimating that local valuation, which will impact our 1 mil funds, as well as the local funding through our 4 mil for community colleges, is up, and that will certainly be a positive impact. And then probably what I think is most impressive is when we built this budget, all of you really rolled up your sleeves and we found a way to reallocate $2.7 million internally. Taking a cut and reallocating $2.7 million internally. That's pretty impressive work. And that's helping us fund and really invest in some priorities. The first that I think you are all well aware of was a compensation plan for the employees of the college. You should all now have seen a 2.5% increase cost of living adjustment that we felt was just critical for our employees here at the college. The legislature also approved a 1% increase in the employee retirement for state employees. That'll be incremental over the next couple of years, 0.5% this year and 0.5% I think in the next year. What I want you to know is that what the state didn't fund and what was supposed to be the employee shares, the trustees in the campus have agreed to pick that up for the employees. So even though that contribution is increasing, it's not coming out of your portion of it. And then we also invested in the board's priorities, which I think are important, almost $300,000 directly into instruction, many of the new faculty that we saw today. Facilities, setting aside $800,000 for continued facilities planning, as well as renovations on campus, many of which that you see are going on today. And then an investment in student services, predominantly to start our new advising model here at LCCC. And then just a couple of other institutional needs. The first, we set aside just over $400,000 again in reserves. And I can tell you we did that last year, and it saved our bacon when it came to absorbing these cuts that we had. The future is uncertain. We don't know how the local legislature is going to respond when they meet again. We don't know how valuation across the state is going to respond. We don't know what enrollment is necessarily going to do. So we're going to protect ourselves and be conservative by setting those funds aside. And then the last piece that I'm really excited about is we set aside $200,000 for innovation funds. Funds that we can put towards creative and energetic plans or ideas for implementation that will help the campus move forward. And I'm delighted that for this first round of funding, I've already got numerous proposals in the office. So I'm really looking forward to how that will play out. Overall, really our fiscal health, our finances are strong as an institution. We are doing really well as an institution. And I am impressed with the work that we did to be able to handle a cut, invest in the priorities that we have. Our total funds budget for FY14 is just over $67 million. So let me shift gears a little bit and talk about what it means to be productive. Productivity, it's an interesting word. It's one of those words that we often sort of think of in positive terms. A productive meeting, we say that was productive, or she led a productive life. And so we think about it positively, but when you really get down to it and you say, well, what does it mean to be productive? What is productivity? How do you find it? We find that it's incredibly difficult to try to articulate it, let alone actually measure what it means to be productive. And then when we start talking about productivity in higher education or education in general, isn't it funny how quickly that term takes on a negative connotation? And I admit, trying to develop human beings is incredibly complex work. I admit that. Trying to assess and measure how productive we are at doing that is even more complex. So it's an interesting issue, but we need to try to measure how productive we are on that. And so try we will. Many of you know that we've implemented and started putting together a process for measuring institutional effectiveness or productivity. And it's still early in its stages, but we think that this is really providing a good base model for us to measure how productive we are. And I want to take a little bit of time to sort of let you know and run through how we're running an initial assessment of how well LCCC is doing overall. We do this through a series of indicators. Those that are on your left are what we call efficiency indicators, or effectiveness indicators, or outcome indicators. Those on the other side are efficiency indicators or process indicators, and they're things we're looking at to see how well is LCCC doing. Before I get into them and kind of run through this, I just want to talk a little bit about the model, the philosophical underpinnings of the model. The model at which we assess how well LCCC is doing is based on the concept of continuous improvement. So it recognizes that we are not going to be automatically where we want to be on some of these things. So you'll see some results that may look bad, but we actually give a pretty good grade for. And we also have some that look fairly good, but we don't get such a good grade for. And it's really based on that concept of continuous improvement and what's happening with the trends and how we're comparing. To get at this, I'm not going to go into detail about the methodology behind this. I would highly encourage you to attend Anne Murray's session tomorrow at 3:15 on measuring performance, where she is going to dig into the methodology behind what we're doing, the specific indicators and all that good stuff, and it will really be a great session. And like I say, I would highly encourage you to participate in that. So let's jump in. The first one is student participation and achievement. And this is sort of the big umbrella look that we do in regards to inputs and outputs, if you will, from a student perspective. Overall, our enrollment is holding strong, and we're really doing quite well. Coming off of a decade of just exceptional growth. Just take a message, Warren, I'll get back to him. Coming off of a decade of growth, we start to see something happen. We start to witness a tapering in our full-time equivalencies. So from FY12 to FY13, our FTE actually decreased, and decreased about 5%. Our headcount went up significantly, close to 22%. So what we're witnessing, and we're not sure why yet, but what we're witnessing is we're seeing more students, but they're taking fewer credits. And that could be attributed to a variety of things, and we'll certainly dig into it. But overall, enrollment's holding well. When we look at persistence, fall-to-fall persistence of our groups, we do almost excellent in retaining our full-time students from fall to fall. This is one of those at 58%. You think, really? That's excellent. Comparative to our history, it's increasing, and comparative to the national benchmarks, that is very good at community colleges. Most universities hover between the high 60s and the 70s, low 70s. So we do well. We do not do well with our part-time students at all. And then when we look at completion by those groups, even though we're retaining our full-time students, we are not getting them to graduation. In 150% of their time, in 300%, and even beyond that. We simply aren't getting them to complete. We do a little bit better with our part-time students. It's a small number, and again, it's comparative, but even there, we're only average. You will see some grayed out areas on these. Those are just areas we don't have data yet, and we're still working on to get data as we go through. Overall, though, for student participation and achievement, we're doing okay. We give ourselves a C. The next indicator group really looks at how well we prepare students to be successful in their college studies. And we call this academic preparation. We look at it through 3 areas. One is the GED or high school equivalency programming. One is through early college, concurrent enrollment, dual credit, and then one is through our developmental education. And we have work to do in many, many of these areas in helping those students succeed. But there are some bright spots, and I want to point those out. Our GED attainment percentage is actually excellent when compared to the state and compared historically. We're doing quite well. The percent of our dual and concurrent enrollment students that actually matriculate and go on to college is exceptionally well. And one of the things that I'm really pleased about, and kudos to the English folks, the success rate in our developmental writing courses has been increasing and is really moving up, and we're seeing some very positive results there. So we've got some high points, we've got some areas we need to work on, but our grade there is a C. We all know and have a long history here about how we prepare students to transfer to their baccalaureate degree. It's one of the cornerstones of our mission. We prepare people to transfer successfully and then succeed in achieving a baccalaureate degree. And here's another place from an enrollment standpoint and even from a credential production standpoint, we are doing very well. In fact, last year, the college awarded the most Associate of Arts and Associate of Science degrees in our history. So from a production standpoint, from what we're doing to help students actually get there, we're really on the right track with enrollment. Where we have to do some work now is in how we help them transfer successfully to the 4-year institution. And there we don't do so well in actually getting them to matriculate. When we look at their success, first-term GPA at the university, we struggle there as well. And when we look at their success rate in actually completing a baccalaureate degree 4 years after they transfer, not very good. So we do well while they're here. It's time for us to help them make that transition and then succeed once they get to the university. Another area that we have long history on and do quite well on is workforce development. Another cornerstone of our mission. And again, enrollment and credential production, we do very, very well at. In fact, this area is one of them that we're really pretty strong. We're going to try to implement an employer satisfaction survey to get some good data about how the employers see these folks are when they hit the job market. The one area that we have room to grow here is ensuring that our graduates find employment in their field. Many of them find employment, not always within their field. But overall, our grade is a B. Community development. Another piece that we do. As a communities college, we support social and economic development through outreach, lifelong learning, and other active types of partnerships. And we have a strong history here as well. Last year, we served 155 different businesses and organizations through customized training and had almost 5,000 enrollments in our customized and training programs and life enrichment programs. That's impressive. Where you see a few of those C's on here, it's just because we're slipping in a couple of areas and things we need to look at. Slipping in participation from historical highs and cultural activities, and as well as a number of offerings that we do for things like customized training. But overall, we're doing pretty good for workforce development, and we get a grade of a B. So let me shift now and talk about efficiency indicators. And so these are the indicators that look at our processes. How well are we doing in maximizing the resources and then managing the processes that we have? And we do fairly well here, both in terms of getting our completers. When our students complete, they don't tend to take too many extra credits. And comparative to national standards, and historically, their time to degree is fair. I think we can improve there, but we do fairly well. From an instructional resource perspective, we're blessed. Simply blessed here. Whether it's the student to faculty ratio at 16, the percent of sections or credits that are taught by full-time faculty, we are doing really, really well. The one area we have to look at is just maximizing the enrollment in our courses. When we offer a course, making sure that we're getting students in there and filling those courses up. But overall, from an instructional productivity standpoint, we do well. We get a B. This is one where we have some significant work to do here, and I actually think this is as much a Wyoming issue as it is an LCCC issue. We call it fiscal stewardship, but basically what it means is how well we're using the resources that we're given to help students achieve their educational goal. So we call it fiscal stewardship. And one of the things we're tracking and watching that we are seeing an escalation internally here at LCCC and then really outpacing what's happening with our national benchmarks in terms of the cost we're spending per student FTE and the cost per completion. And it's one of the things we simply have to find a way to rally back. Part of that is an issue with retention, lack of graduation. I mean, it's a complex system here. But when we look at the resources we're spending per student or per completion, that cost is rising and really getting a little bit out of control. We need to find a way to rein that in. The other areas that we have work to do is ensuring that more of our budget more of our expenditures go to the core areas that touch students most. Instruction, and then the other areas, instruction, academic support, and student services. We need to get more of our resources going there and less from overhead, from institutional type of support perspectives. And the way we do that is going to be through innovation and efficiency. But we've got to work to do in this indicator, and that's why we have a D. College affordability, I don't think I need to go through this a whole lot. Wyoming Community Colleges and LCCC, one of the best deals in higher education in the nation. I mean, even if you take out of context or out of consideration the Hathaway program, which is a blessing to our students in Wyoming. Our students still pay well below the regional average in their tuition and fees. Their net cost of attendance, so that's all the costs of attendance, minus the aid programs, grant aid and things like that, we do very, very well in opening up our doors and making sure higher education is accessible. Our foundation and really the private philanthropy that's associated with this college is exceptional. You'll see a couple of C's in there. Tuition and fees is a C because we're going the wrong way. They're increasing every single year. And we've seen a slight decline in total donations, private donations to the foundation. But just shy of $1 million is pretty darn impressive. By any regards. And so from an affordability standpoint, I think our students are truly blessed. And then the last one is campus climate. I think one of the foundational elements to a successful organization, a highly productive organization, an effective organization, deals with how healthy the campus climate is. And I'll admit, this has been one that really we've struggled with trying to figure out how to assess either inconsistency in data collection, or in lack of data, or just trying to get a handle on how you assess for climate. But we're making headway, and we do this through two lenses. One, we do it from a student perspective, and one, we do it from an employee perspective. From a student perspective, the climate is actually quite well. Once we get them in the door, and we hear this over and over again, they enjoy their experience here. They're overly satisfied for the most part. They're engaged. We do have a few areas that we need to work on, but for overall, students really have a pretty positive climate here at LCCC. We've got work to do from an employee perspective. We're seeing some improvements, and again, limited data, but some improvements in employee perspective in terms of employee satisfaction, but we've got areas in the grievances, complaints, and those things. We simply have some work to do here. So if I were to split these two, in general, the campus climate, we get a B for that. But if I were to split these two, the student perspective would be a B. From an employee perspective, we'd probably be a C. So we've got some work to do there. So I know that measuring ourselves and assessing ourselves is incredibly difficult. And it's not fun. It's not easy to do in any objective way. But in the end, I believe that if it's going to be done, and trust me, we're going to get measured and evaluated. We already are. But if it's going to be done, I'd rather be the ones doing it. I want us to do it on our terms and say this is what's meaningful for us. So while that may seem very complex and large, this is how we're going to do it, and we're going to get ahead of the pack and say we're really working on these things. Overall, LCCC is doing okay. I mean, sure, we've got areas where we need to focus some work right now. We've also got areas where we excel. But overall, you might say that LCCC is an average campus. I don't want to be average. I don't think any of you want to be average either. I think that we want to be more than average, and so we're going to take a run at that. And if we're going to transform ourselves from average to excellent, I think you'll all agree that that's probably going to have to come through change, and in many regards, significant change. So as I was preparing these remarks, I ran across an old textbook. It's old. It was the late 90s. I guess that's not all that old. A very good textbook. It's called The Learning Revolution. There's a chapter in it called The Transformation of Higher Education, and it was written by a gentleman named Michael Hooker. He was the chancellor of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Really, from what I understand, a brilliant man. He actually died at the age of 53, 2 years after writing this chapter. But for publishing that in the late 90s, there's some interesting perspectives that I think are very germane to what we're experiencing right now. He took a very simple view on change and said, we're dealing with change. To transform, we have to deal with change. And he talked about two types of change. The first was cyclical change, and those are the things that we deal with every day. So it's the change in the weather. It's the ups and downs in the cost of a gallon of milk at the store. It's fashion, as we watch bell bottoms go out and come back in. The mullet hasn't got back in style yet, though, has it? I don't think so either. But cyclical change are the things that we just accommodate, we tolerate. And then he talks about structural change. Now, these are the game changers. They reestablish the rules, and they're almost always associated with the concept of a revolution. And so you'll hear about it. The scientific revolution, the industrial revolution, the human rights movement, and what's happened there. Once we go through structural change, you simply cannot go back. And what he argued, and I think it's very pertinent, is that we are experiencing two major structural changes in the world and in society, and they're impacting higher education. The first one I think we're all aware of, the information revolution, right? Technology revolution has been going on. The second one, though, is what he calls the management revolution. And I don't know that we've heard so much about it, but I think we witness it every day. And actually, he says the management revolution started before the information revolution. How many of you know who Edward Deming is? Edward Deming is sort of thought of as the father of continuous quality improvement. Even though the United States sort of ignored him early on, he had to go to Japan to help them build their economy over it. Many people say that was the start of the management revolution. Anybody know where Edward Deming got his bachelor's degree from? University of Wyoming, that's right. So it's impressive. Everything comes back to Wyoming, right? Isn't that great thing about Wyoming? But he pushed this concept of not just mass production, but what he called quality, and how he defined quality, and it was increased productivity and decreased costs. And that really started driving the way we look at things. In comes the information revolution. And all of a sudden we have technology that gives us better data, better evidence in what's happening there, and it gives us technological solutions to improve that. And so what Dr. Hooker wrote about and talks about is it's interesting that since what, the late 70s, early 80s, as the information revolution really started hitting, nearly every industry has seen gains in productivity and decreases in cost except for one. And what do you think that is? Education. And I would actually argue healthcare, but he didn't address that, and I don't want to get into that here. But in education, every single one. And so what's happening and what we're seeing now is a shift. And again, we can argue day in and day out we're a different type of environment. We're not dealing with products, we're dealing with people. I mean, you can see that, but there are actually social sector industries that have also seen those gains. And the thing that's happening, though, from a management perspective, we are taking the pressure and the heat. And people are looking at us and saying, we know how well you're doing. We know what's investing. We're watching costs rise, productivity stay flat. What are you doing about it? So it's a new world, this management revolution. So we think about that sort of as accountability, right? That's what we're told. You're being accountable to what you're doing. I like to step back and say, yes, we want to be accountable. The reality is, though, that today a college education is more important than it ever has been. And that's what we need to be focused on. It is more important. If you look at jobs and workforce, and just think about our labor force, if you will, for a second. Bear with me here. You think about, historically, we have been founded on a large portion of unskilled labor and a large portion of unskilled jobs. Smaller amount of technical, and then the cap at the professional level. Now we've seen a shift. Those, especially after the recession, those unskilled jobs have gone away. I mean, they simply have gone away, and we're seeing them shift into these technical aspects. And yet, here's the reflection of our workforce still. It's inverted. We have that large base of unskilled labor. Last census, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, I think it was 46 to 48% of our labor force has a high school diploma or less right now. We're seeing that fundamental shift. Here's another way to look at it. If we look at it just in Wyoming and look at our young adults, 25 to 34-year-olds, about 37% in Wyoming currently have an associate degree or higher. It's about 40% the nation. The leading countries that we compare to is at 55, and our big goal, the one that everybody reads about, is 60% by 2020 or 2025 to do that. They estimate that 62% of the jobs in Wyoming by 2018 or 2020 are going to require something past high school. Many of those will be at the associate degree level. That leaves a structural gap, a skills gap is what they call it, of 25%. That's the gap we're trying to make up. So we've got these different groups that are coming in and really trying to spear this management change and revolution and pushing the technology revolution in higher education. The American Association of Community Colleges has set out a pretty aggressive agenda, and they did it as part of their Reclaiming the American Dream, their 21st Century Community College Futures Report and work. But they're pretty pointed. They say, here's the change agenda, and here's what needs to happen at community colleges as we go forward. We need to move from a focus just on access to a focus on access and student success. We need to move from fragmented course taking to clear, coherent educational pathways. We need to move from low rates student success to high rates. We got to quit tolerating the achievement gaps between ethnicities and generations and move to eradicating those. We need to move away from a culture of anecdote to a culture of evidence. We need to quit saying that it's an individual's faculty responsibility for students to succeed. And really, there's a collective responsibility of all of us for our students to succeed. We got to move from a culture of isolation to one of collaboration. Got to get rid of the emphasis on boutique programs and look at how we implement things, effective education at scale. This one, we need to move from a focus on teaching to a focus on learning. A shift from using data as just a management support and really using information infrastructure as learning analytics. And the last one is shifting from funding just tied to enrollment to one tied to enrollment, institutional performance, and student success. So it is an aggressive agenda, and these are the things we have to tackle. This is why change is going to be with us, and is really something we're going to have to find a way to navigate. So up to now, my comments, and perhaps even the national dialogue, really probably sounds like it takes on a business-like perspective. Data, statistics, productivity, organizational design, strategies, workforce development, all of those things. And to be honest with you, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that perspective. If, and I say if, we also have the conversation about quality. Quality is incredibly important. Like productivity, it's one of those things, we tend to think that that's a positive attribution. We like quality. It's incredibly difficult to define. Quality is incredibly difficult to define. But I believe it can be assessed for, and we need to do that. And to start that assessment, we have to ground it in a basic definition. And my definition, and I hope our definition of quality is having high standards that are consistently met. Quality happens at that intersection. If we have high standards that we never achieve, we're not quality. And if we lower our standards so we can make achievement, we're not quality. That's the hard part of our work, is keeping our standards high and then working day in and day out to make sure we reach those standards. A few other thoughts on quality. This management revolution, information revolution has unveiled a layer of evidence. It's almost all at the institution level or the national level. So assessing institutional productivity is something that we're doing daily now. And in fact, half of the stuff I just shared with you is assessing institutional productivity. We need to shift now and unveil the evidence around learner productivity. That is the heart of what we do. How productive are our students at learning? How productive are we at helping them learn? It's a shift we need to make. Many people out there now are saying, yes, we agree, there's a completion shortfall. But we need to make sure those completions are associated with quality programs. There is also a quality shortfall. The Association of American Colleges and Universities has come out and said, sure, the completion agenda is great, but we have to look at the quality agenda as well and make sure that our students are achieving essential learning outcomes as they go forward. If we focus on simply training people to memorize things, rote memorization, teaching them tricks to figure out how they can pass an exam, that's not quality. If all we focus on are just the tactile, the practical skills for an occupation without asking them to think, that's not quality either. Yes, those may lead them to living practical lives, but we want our students to live meaningful lives as well, right? Right. Not just practical. Thank you. They do that. And to do that, we need to make sure that they also have strong underpinnings of the things we know: communications, analytic reasoning, quantitative literacy, broad knowledge of society and science. And now there's an emerging body that's suggesting there are other things that your students have to know regardless of their vocation. Regardless. Global knowledge and competence, intercultural knowledge, creativity and innovation, teamwork and problem-solving skills, information literacy and fluency, and ethical reasoning and decision-making. We have to focus on those things. So the path before us is, I think, littered with change. I think we all desire to be better than average. I think we want to be great. And I am excited today to share with you a draft of the 2013-2020 LCCC Strategic Plan. I believe that this plan is really going to provide the foundational framework for which we will start to navigate and move through this change. So folks are handing out copies of this draft plan for you. While they're doing that, I want to just talk a little bit about this plan. First of all, this plan is a work in progress and has been for about the past 6 months. Many, many hours have gone into it. 21 individuals, 21 of your peers have spent countless hours developing this plan. Board of Trustees, Foundation board members, faculty, staff, and the President's Cabinet have really rolled up their sleeves to produce this plan. And if I could just take a moment of privilege, everybody who is on the strategic planning team, would you stand up for me, please? Do that. Take a look around, not only so you can thank them for the work that they did, but also so that you have a point of who the people are that you can go with comments, thoughts, feedback, encouragement, questions about this plan. I do want you to note, please note, this is a draft plan. It will be out for campus feedback over the next few weeks. Does everybody have one now? We missing any? It's a draft plan. It's out for campus feedback. If you go into Eagle's Eye in the forum, like we do policy consultative feedback, there's an item in there for the strategic plan. I would encourage you to post your comments, edits, thoughts, changes, anything else out there, and use that process and use Eagle's Eye to provide that feedback. I hope to have this before College Council in a few weeks. The board will have it as a study session early in September, and I'm going to ask the board for their approval at the end of September. So what I'd like to do is just take the last bit of my comments and kind of walk through the elements of the strategic plan, if you will. The first place that the team started was looking at our mission statement, and figured this is the place we needed to really begin reviewing it, analyzing it, and considering it, and ultimately modifying it. And so what you have before you is the proposed new mission statement for LCCC. It's a powerful statement. It embodies the elements that we feel were strong about the previous mission statement, but it brings them in a form of clarity and simplicity, and yet it doesn't lose its power. The mission of Laramie County Community College is to transform our students' lives through inspired learning. It's a powerful statement. We also looked at the values of the institution and ultimately came to the understanding that there's really two types of values at play at LCCC right now. Those that we consider our core values. These are values that are inherent in the very cultural fabric of the campus, of the institution. We couldn't pull them out if we wanted to. And every corner that you go to, you can find these values. Passion, authenticity, and a desire to make a difference. But we also recognize that there are values that we really want, but they're just not there. They're not ubiquitous across campus. But darn it, we're going to work to make sure they become our core values, and we're going to focus our actions, talk, our activities to try to add these to our core values. A commitment to quality, entrepreneurship, and tolerance. And I think they provide a wonderful foundation collectively for the future of this campus. This is a long, long vision statement, so I'm going to indulge you to let me read it to you, because I think what the team put together was such a vivid statement of what the vision for this campus is and what we should look like in the future, that it's something that I think about almost on a daily basis now. In the future, we are individuals united for a single purpose, to transform our students' lives. Our nationally recognized entrepreneurial and innovative programs and services help students become the most sought-after individuals. We develop world-class instructors. We are relentless in the use of evidence to make decisions that responsibly and efficiently allocate resources, drive instruction, and create an environment of adaptability and productivity. Every individual has the freedom to innovate and take informed risks based on promising practices and creative ideas. We fail fast and learn from that failure as much as from our success. Clear academic pathways, high-touch services, engaged employees are the bedrock of our students' success. We drive collaboration throughout the community to ensure the success of all students who come to LCCC. We are changing the world of higher education by facing seemingly impossible challenges head on. And you can see that. It's going to take work to get there, but you can see that if we could epitomize every single statement within that vision statement. It's powerful. It really is. That vision is sort of going to be assessed through this broad overarching goal, or what we call the big goal, which is that our accomplishments as a community college are going to distinguish LCCC from others in the region and in the nation, in turn benefiting our students, our communities, and bringing pride to the great state of Wyoming. So let me finish by talking about the goals in the strategic plan, and there's 4 of them. And then accompanying strategies, these are at the tail end of the report. The first is that we're going to increase the number of students earning high-value credentials by reinventing our programs and services to be designed for the 21st century. The strategies that we're looking at here, increasing participation, not just by new students, by addressing the retention issues. implementing high-impact student engagement practices, developing clear academic pathways, reinventing general education, quality assurance through assessment of student learning, and redesigning our scholarship and aid programs to keep affordability wide open. The second goal is to strengthen our relationships and connections with key community partners, K-12, the University of Wyoming and other four-year institutions, business and industry. And a few things we're going to do there. Try to expand and strengthen what's happening in our early college engagement of high school students. Not just concurrent enrollment, but all of the other things we do to engage high school. Align and articulate our AA and AS degrees to the universities. Not just create a course articulation or say they'll accept your courses, but actually map out for our students that pathway from their day one here to the completion of their baccalaureate degree, and work with our university partners to do that. And expand relationships with business and industry partners. Our third goal is really addressing that campus climate component. And this is to build organizational capacity to thrive in the future by focusing on establishing a climate of trust, an effective, efficient, and entrepreneurial workforce, and a culture of continuous improvement. And some of the strategies we'll be looking at is focusing on employee recruitment, retention, development, and performance evaluation, implementing a Center for Teaching and Learning and the subsequent programming, improving and existing and developing new institutional processes, and finalizing our transition, working with the board on transitioning board policies and administrative procedures. And then the last one is to transform the college's physical environment into a vibrant and appealing place conducive to the engagement of students, our community, through campus renovations, additional facilities, and beautiful grounds. Our strategies will continue with remodeling, renovating, expanding existing facilities and infrastructure, both the core, whether it's IT or utilities infrastructure, as well as the facade, building the capacity to maintain a more lush, attractive exterior infrastructure and landscape on campus while recognizing the region that we're in and the resource constraints that we have within our region. Implementing the comprehensive campus wayfinding plan, which is underway right now. And then completing the Building Forward plan. And here's where I want to end my remarks for today, is talking a little bit about Building Forward. In just a couple of minutes, you're going to have a campaign kickoff, these wonderful shirts and all that great stuff. You're going to hear from our foundation about really the first big push in our 8-year aggressive facilities plan. We have 6 priorities within this plan: a university student center, a flex tech or industrial technology building, residence hall, a performing and fine arts building, expansion of the Albany County campus on the UW campus, and what we've been calling a campus facelift. We're working on all those at various levels right now, but our first 2 priorities are the University and Student Center and the Industrial Technology Building. And a lot of people have asked me why. Why these first? Why are they important? Why do we need to push for them now? So we can talk about the big picture why. One of them I think you've all recognized. We simply have no swing space on campus. If we want to do something new with space Y, we don't have any place to put space Y and space X to actually renovate and to do that. We simply don't have the swing space here on campus. And a lot of that is attributed to our enrollment growth. And even though our FTE may be dropping, the fact that we're serving more heads, more students, they still consume the services and the space and all of those things. So we need to do that. There's industry push. There's requests that we have for this right now. The University and Student Center is going to play a critical role in helping make that shift and transforming it. It's going to provide us an opportunity to create integrative, high-touch student services in a centralized local place. It's going to create a front door for the campus. I'm amazed at how many people have asked me since we've been on the street, Joe, when are you going to put a front door on that campus? Apparently they don't like coming to my office through that front door. But our community says this isn't right. If we end up in the administration building and I want to figure out how to enroll, we've already set them back. So putting a front door, bringing our primary university partner, UW, out into a prominent location, and also addressing needed space for certain instructional activities, specialized instructional space, assembly space, and community engagement. This is a great room. It's a little warm in here, a little crowded, isn't it? And I tell you, we need some larger space for assembly, not only for us, for our students, for the community. The industrial tech or the flex tech building, I mean, now's the time. We are being asked to add new programs, expand new programs, and I know Larry and Seth, you guys are doing a great job running evening cohorts, trying to make the diesel shop work. We're adding on a little bit of space here. We're trying to take this space so we can start programs to meet the industry need. If we want to continue to do that, we need specialized instructional space. And now's the time. You know, we have a wonderful bonding environment, a wonderful construction environment, really a wonderful economic environment in Cheyenne. Cheyenne, Dan, I'm going to get this wrong, but I think Cheyenne, for a city of its size, is rated #1 in the nation for the tax environment right now. There's not a single item of general obligation debt on the Laramie County taxpayers. Now is the time to go for these, and they're lining up. We have to get local funds, we have to get legislative funds. Now's the time, and I tell you what, once these buildings go, then we're on to Residence Hall and performing in fine arts, and we're doing that. And boy, watch out. I think it's going to be an exciting, exciting time in the future. So if I had to sum it up and say what's the state of LCCC, I think we're building forward on a strong foundation, on a collective agreement. We need change. We got to figure out how to navigate and what change that is. But I really do think that we're building forward, and there's collective energy to keep that momentum going. So thank you for listening. Thank you for all you do for the college. I hope you all have a wonderful academic year. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay.
Do you want to give me that microphone, or?
You want this one, huh? Is that what
Sure.
you're saying?
Or I can use this one.
Nope.
Thank you. Good job. All right, how about a big round of applause for Dr. Joe Schaefer and all the great things he's been doing. Thanks, everyone. I'm Lisa Murphy again, and I'm so happy to be here. I want to say welcome back, everyone, and I am so happy to see you all wearing your blue shirts. It's a great sight from up here to see everyone wearing the Building Forward shirts. While Ron and I get set up here, I want to thank the Division of Institutional Advancement. They're passing out some materials to you. So thanks. How about a round of applause for the division for all the hard work they've been doing getting everything ready. Thanks, guys. You're doing a great job. They've been putting together the materials that you're going to be reading here, and the shirts and all of these great materials, so thanks to them. Before Ron and I get started up here, I would like to say a big thank you to the Board of Trustees. They're all sitting in the back of the room. They're going to be taking a very important vote tonight. There is a Board of Trustees business meeting tonight. They're going to be taking a vote on the resolution for the capital campaign. And that's actually taking place tonight at 7 o'clock. The resolution is actually for the capital campaign to move forward to the county clerk's office for an election that will take place on November 5th. So, Board of Trustees, would you please stand up and give everyone a wave again? I know you have a big board meeting tonight, but we want to thank you for your leadership and all that you do for us. Thank you so much. At the end of our remarks, we'll be inviting the board members to come forward for a Q&A session, so please don't sneak out the back of the room. I would also like to, again, thank the foundation board members. Ron is our president, and I'll be introducing him in just a minute, but we also have some other board members in the back of the room, and they have been very supportive. I want to thank them. I would also like to ask the steering committee members to stand. We have a steering committee that has been working on the capital campaign, and if you'll see them all around the room, please thank them. They've been working very hard this year on the campaign. Thank you very much. All right, I have a very special guest here today. This is Ron Rabo. Many of you know him. He is an alumni member. Some of you may not know that. He's a graduate of LCCC. He's a transfer student to UW. And we met as students. We were actually students here together, which I'm really proud of. But he is one of our greatest student success stories. Ron is a business owner. He owns many thousands of acres out by Albin. When I ask him how many, he can't say because it's thousands. He runs a farm out there. He's also a motivational speaker, and he is a singer-songwriter. But he owns about 10 different businesses. When you ask him, he'll tell you he's got so many things going on that he's just very successful. And so when I think about our students and their success, Ron is one of our greatest success students. He was a Board of Trustees chairman, and now he's the president of our foundation. And so he's here today. He's helping the foundation board lead the capital campaign. He helped us in a successful campaign for our health sciences building. He helped us finish the residence hall buildings. He was here when we built our Albany County campus building. And I want to thank him personally for all that he has done for this college. And he's here to help us now with the next two buildings as we move forward. So please welcome Ron Rabo. Would you like this one?
This is fun. All right, can you hear me? Are you sure? Is it hot in here or is it me? Is it hot?
Terrible.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Where's the air conditioning, Joe Schaefer? Board of Trustees, are we going to get an air conditioner in this room at some point? So did everyone have a good summer? All right, so 4 of you had a good summer. What about the rest of you? Did you have a good summer too? And everyone's all totally fired up to be back in the college mode, right? Okay, great. There's 2 of you that are ready for that, so that's good. Well, I think that Joe has, another 3 hours or so this when we're finished, Lisa, that he wanted to get up and say
absolutely.
a few words and whatnot, so I think that's good. So, well, I have had a very good summer, and in fact, I've really enjoyed the time that I've been able to spend on the LCCC Foundation. Lisa did not tell you that I'm one of the very rare students, actually, that was able to cram my 4-year degree into 12 years. And, I'm serious about that. I graduated high school in 1991, and then I graduated college in 2002. Okay, and so thanks to Lisa Murphy, I was able to pass statistics. I learned at a real young age, at 18 years old, you always sit in the back row, and that way all the smart people are in the front, and, they hold up their papers, and that's how you pass. So, anyway, but no, I enjoyed my time here at LCCC, and it was a great experience, and I've enjoyed my time that I've spent, obviously, on the Board of Trustees and with the foundation, too. So, Lisa told me, she said it's really hot in the room, and there was maybe a few of you folks that I noticed when I walked in that are maybe starting to fade a little bit. Is that right, Scott Souter? Yeah? All right. So I was wondering if maybe, since it's school, actually, I'm wondering, when Lisa said that, I was wondering if maybe I could open with a something that's kind of non-college, but it's sort of college because it's math. Is that fair if we open up with maybe a little bit of a quiz about math? Is that okay? Excellent. Yeah, great. Okay. So all the fine arts people are all excited about me. Very good. Okay, this is good. So, okay. So there's 3 farmers, and of course I'm a farmer, so there's 3 farmers walking down this road because their truck broke down. Of course they did, right? Because they lived next to me, or they were driving my truck probably. So they're walking down the road, and they say, we need to stay somewhere in a hotel room. So they walk up to this hotel, it's on this random road. They walked in, asked the manager greeted them, and they said, well, how much is it going to cost us for a hotel room? And the manager says, well, there's 3 of you, so it'll be $30, because we're going to charge you guys $10 a piece, so 10 times 3 is 30, right? You follow me so far? Okay, so the farmers, they end up going up to their room, and they're hanging out, and the manager's down there, and he's calculating the room, and he's thinking, man, I overcharged these guys for the room. I overcharged them $5. It should have only been $25 for the room, right? So he calls the bellboy over, and the bellboy's name is Jimmy Bob Joe Jack Jr., and he says, Jimmy Bob Joe Jack Jr., he says, I overcharged these guys $5 for this room. I should have only charged them $25 instead of $30, where you go and return them their money and split it amongst them equally. And Jimmy Bob Joe Jack Jr., he's a couple of fries short of a Happy Meal. His elevator doesn't quite go to the top, right? So he's thinking to himself, how in the world do I divide these $5 equally among these 3 guys? And when he's walking up the stairs on the way up, he says, I got this totally great idea. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take $2 out of the $5, and I'm going to stuff it in my pocket, right? So then I'm left with $3. Okay, follow me so far? Because 5 minus 2 is 3, right? So he takes these $3 and explains to the farmers, he knocks on their room. He explains to them that he overcharged them for the room. And so what he did is, since they each paid $10 to begin with, he gives them $1 back, right? So now they each paid what? 10 minus 1 is 9, right? So 9 times 3 is 27, plus the 2 that Jimmy Bob Joe Jack Jr. stuck in his pocket is 29. What happened to the other $1? You just got off summer break, didn't you? Yep. Well, I actually don't have the answer, so we're going to move into our talk here. I really don't. I have no idea. I don't know what the answer is. So if any of you can figure it out, definitely let me know. Okay, Melissa? Okay, that would be good. Melissa's from Pine Bluff, so she's, yeah. It will take her a while to catch that. if you need me to if you want to discuss it with me afterwards, I'd be happy to discuss the problem with you. Okay, maybe you can help me figure it out.
You're older than me still.
Well, I know that's what the folks from Pine Bluffs always say when we folks from Albin, outdo them all the time. So that's right. No. So as Lisa said, we wanted to talk a little bit today about the health science building and about this campaign that we're doing, obviously with the Flex Tech and with the Student Service Center. And I wanted to spend time talking about the health science building because that's really the extent of my experience. When I was on the board of trustees, we went forward with this campaign, in 2006 to build the health science building. And as many of you know, that was a huge benefit. I don't know if everyone can agree with that, but I think it was a huge benefit to this campus. But here's the thing that's hard, I think, that when you're in a leadership position, and I think the Board of Trustees would certainly agree to this as well, that there are so many great programs in this college that are valuable, that contribute to this institution, that it's really hard when you're in the leadership position to actually narrow it down. Because there's a lot of great programs, and I'm a huge LCCC supporter. And so if it were up to me, what I would do is I would just fund everyone's projects that they wanted to do, right? But that's not reality. That's not something that we can do. So what we have to do is we have to say, okay, let's see where the greatest needs are at this point, all right? So the Board of Trustees have identified this Flex Tech building and the Student Services Center as the next need on the master plan. Getting back to the health science building, the 7 years that it's been up, obviously we won that campaign in 2006. The building was complete in 2009. We actually added another floor. I don't know if you all remember, but when we originally discussed that project, we were going to have 2 floors. We added another floor onto it, and it was just kind of an empty shell. But it has freed up space for development of new programs on campus, and it has actually, Jennifer, am I right that it's doubled the enrollment in nursing?
Yes, we doubled it.
Okay, so the enrollment in nursing has doubled. So I think that it goes back to the old adage that we always hear, which is, build it and they will come. Build it and the people will show up. The numbers are there. So in addition to that, it's been, I think, would you agree also that it's maybe an effective recruitment tool? It's interesting, if you look at the things that for an example, you can Google this, just go online and check it out anywhere, but you can Google the fact of the most important factors that contribute to students choosing where they choose to go to school, all right? So the biggest one is what is the academic success of the institution. All right? We can't have academic success if we don't have number one, faculty that provide that and staff that support that. So you all are a critical component of making that academic success possible. Okay? Next, the most important thing is facilities to provide that programming to allow for that academic success. And I think that that's what the Board of Trustees and their master plan, what they're shooting for, what they're aiming for, to continue to grow the campus and to add to the programs. The next one is job placement. I think that the Flex Tech building that we're talking about with this particular campaign is really important when we talk about job placement, because job placement is high on students' minds. They want to know that when they go to college and they get a degree, whether it's a 2-year degree or 4-year degree or certificate or whatever it is, that they can actually go out into the workforce and that they can get a job. Super, super important. And then, of course, financial assistance and social activities are a part of that too. And so in January, let's just briefly go through this here. I promise that I'll be done in 45 minutes. In January, we hired a national polling company. Okay, so what happened is they came into this community and they did a poll to conduct. It was kind of like a random phone survey, public opinion poll. So we wanted to know what the mood was of property taxes in this county, We wanted to know what the mood was about LCCC and what the mood was about the economy. And what we found out through this poll is that it's all very, very positive. In fact, we learned actually that Cheyenne has the lowest property taxes of any city in the entire nation. That's a pretty big deal, right? I think that's awesome, right? Which I think goes to show the strength that we have in this community. And we've been able to build a lot of projects. One of the things that I'm very proud of, having been a trustee, is that when we passed the election in 2006, we told the voters that we will get this paid off as quickly as we can, and then it's going to go away. So not only did it go away, but it went away, I think, about a year or a year and a half sooner than we said it was going to. Okay? So certainly that's our intention with this as well. I mean, you want to obviously undersell and over-deliver, which is, I think, one of the things that we were able to do, and we hope that we can do that with this as well. So we also found out that voters are happy with the local economy, and 84% reported that they were very positive about our property taxes being reasonable. Well, I just covered that, so we know we're beyond reasonable, right? So the other thing that was pretty cool to find out in this survey is we found out that 91% of the respondents reported that they love LCCC. Not that they like LCCC, not that it's okay, but they love LCCC. So that's something that's certainly in our favor. So when we put all of those things together, one of the questions on there was, if we're going to build a building on campus, and we're going to go out for a bond election for it, what would be your support? And people initially responded 40% positive. Does that pass an election?
Nope.
No. If you said yes, you need to go back to my math problem. Okay? You're right, it doesn't pass, right? So why in the world would we choose to go forward with a campaign right now when only 40% of the respondents said that they would vote in favor of this bond election? Well, the reason that we would do that is because the follow-up question to that was, if we provide education and information, which this polling company did, then 2/3 of the voters would vote in the affirmative. All right? So, in order to make this work, to make this happen with this bond campaign, it's going to be about information and it's going to be about education. And where does that come from? It has to come from those of us that already support it. Okay? It's our job to move forward with this and educate the folks in our neighborhoods, in the rest of our community, in our families, in our social networks, to make sure that we're talking about this campaign positively, all right? And the importance of it, the value that it provides to the community. For an example, this, and I think this is the biggest selling point about this entire campaign, is this is really about students, okay? LCCC does not exist because it has all the buildings and all the programs. It exists because you all provide a superior education for students. And we have to be mindful of that. It's really important that the focus stays on students. Obviously, it's going to have a huge economic impact, a positive economic impact in our community, because it's going to help create jobs in the community. When we ask, well, how many jobs and how many businesses are interested in participating in the FlexTech or in continuing education through an outreach program through the University of Wyoming, and I would say, much like the health science building, that I don't think any of us know. I think that the need is there, the information shows that the need is there, and that if we provide the opportunities for students, then it will fill. And it will fill probably, Jennifer, much quicker than we think it's going to, right? And one of the things that I like about the FlexTech building, for an example, is its adaptability. Certain types of industries come and go, right? And if we build a building that's just exclusively for one program, and that particular program goes away or there's not a need for it anymore, then we have to pretty much tear everything down and kind of start over again. And one of the things that is so great about the Flex Tech building is the adaptability of the building, that as different types of businesses and different types of needs come and go, we can meet those needs, all right? Because it's kind of more of a makeshift type scenario. So regarding the Student Center, those of you, how many Student Center folks are in here? Raise your hands. All right, so okay, there we go, excellent. Okay, so you all know how cramped it is, and everything's kind of a little bit discombobulated. And in fact, I had a person out in my community where we live in the summertime, where our farm is, that actually quit going to LCCC because they couldn't get registered. It was too complicated. So she ended up going to EWC. So I found out about this, through networks out there and whatnot, and they're like, you need to fix this. And I thought, well, I can't personally fix it, but I can try to help. And so, we worked on that. But the point is that if you have a student that shows up and registers in this institution, if it's not friendly for them and they can't understand what they're supposed to do, what does that do to them? What's their initial impression about LCCC as a result? Yeah, it's total thumbs down, right? Okay, and so that is one of the things, is we want to create a little bit more of a flow, obviously with the Student Services Center, and to try to make things so that students can come in, that they can feel that it's a little bit more of a friendly environment. And I don't mean friendly with the people, I mean user-friendly, right? So that they can understand how to work this, that when they have problems, they know where they need to go, and they know how they need to hold them. So let me just cover numbers real quick. No one really cares about the numbers, right? We don't care how much this is going to cost us, right? Okay. Oh, except maybe a couple of you do. Well, I happen to care a lot how much it's going to cost, right? So the trustees will vote tonight, as Lisa said, on proposing to sell $25 million in general obligation bonds. But of course, depending on grants, construction costs, private fundraising, etc., the actual amount could be less. It will not be more, but it could be less. So that's a positive thing. So you're wondering to yourself, how much does a 2 mil tax levy cost me? Well, you can look in this fine brochure that your fine folks in marketing at LCCC have put together for you, and for our community, that if you have a home that's valued, or a particular piece of property that's valued at approximately $200,000, it's going to cost a little over $3, about $3.17 in addition on your property taxes every month. So about another $38 a year for every $200,000. All right? Now, a lot of people say, well, that's just too much. Because what we're doing is we're looking at cost instead of value. And I would challenge each one of you, as you're out and you're talking about this campaign and the importance of this campaign, that really this is about, A, it's about students, but B, it's about value. What are we providing to students that come here? What are we providing to the businesses that provide for our economy? And what are we providing for the future of jobs and the future strength of this community? It's really about value. It's not about cost. And so $38 is a pretty small investment that we can make. In fact, it's an incredibly small investment that we can make into this particular community. All right? So I think Lisa has some things that she wants to get to here real quick. And Lisa Murphy.
I do. You know, I want to say that I love to teach public speaking, and I really wish that I had taught public speaking to Ron Rabo. He's one of our graduates, and isn't he amazing? So let's give a round of applause to Ron Rabo. Yeah. Thank you, Ron Rabo. Don't go too far, because if you'd like to...
Standing right here.
Okay, great. Don't go far, Ron Rabo. We have a few more things to share. I would like to introduce Josh Stein right now. He produces our video programs. Josh put together a great video that Dr. Schaefer and some of our community members have gone out with us. We spent the spring going out to every community group that would listen to us. We've been out to the Chamber, Rotary, Kiwanis, Lions, every group who would listen to us, and shared some video programs and some information about these buildings. We have been talking to everyone who would listen to share our message so far this spring, and we will be out in the fall again as well. Josh has put together some great video programs and some great materials. The website that you're looking at here was produced by our very own Scott Souter. The folks in the Public Relations Department have been working very hard to build these materials so that we have some great information and some great visuals for everyone to see. These architectural renderings were put together by Pappas & Pappas Architecture here in town. They're local architects. They also worked with us on some other buildings, and so we're very happy about that. And a lot of our financial information has come from Dan Baxter, and we're grateful for that as well. So we've had a lot of great minds putting this information together for you. So Josh, are you ready to go? All right, we're going to go ahead and show you a video clip. If I could have some folks turn out the lights, we'll go. Thank you.
Laramie County Community College strives to engage minds, inspire individuals, and transform lives through the power of learning. Due to the strong support of Laramie County through the years, the college has grown. Our enrollment has increased more than 40% over the last decade alone. Just last year, we hit a new high point with the largest graduating class in LCCC's history. The college wants to continue to provide excellence to our students. We want to develop a new, state-of-the-art student center to enhance the student experience from first-time registration to graduation and on to their next step, whether that's into the workforce or to the university. This facility will not only bundle all the student services into an attractive, intuitive new area, it will provide space for private conversations regarding financial aid and counseling, areas for studying and meetings, new classrooms, as well as fun space for student activities and community events, and so much more. This building will exhibit the quality of education and experience we want everyone to enjoy when coming to LCCC for years to come.
We're going to leave the lights down for just a minute. We're going to show you a video clip of a student who we interviewed for the spring. Her name is Raven Coward. Those of you who have had a chance to meet her, she's terrific. She explains really well why we need to improve our usage. I think Ron explained it really well, the user friendliness and the experience for our students. So go ahead and play that interview.
In my perspective, being a non-traditional student without that background, it's overwhelming. You don't have someone you can go home to and say, well, how did you start out? What did you do? Because you're the first one, you're pioneering it, and you don't really know where to go. So without having everything in one place, or a centralized entrance even, it gets overwhelming. And when it gets overwhelming, I think there's a greater chance that maybe you're not going to walk back in the building again. When you actually finally come in a door, it's kind of confusing. You don't know, should I go in the end of the building or should I go in the middle? The development of the blue arches a few years ago, I think, helped a little bit, but that brings you to the cafeteria. So if you're a new student coming in, you're like, oh, there's a cafe. Okay. There's not really what a new student might need to find right away. Getting that step up and getting in the door is what I needed and what I think other students need. I love LCCC and I totally recommend it. Besides the frustration of finding the right people and finding what you need to do, once you find those key people, it's great. You get into the classes you need to get into. They are going to work as hard as they can to help you succeed. I mean, as a student, you have to have the initiative and do it on your own, but you have a support system. They know your name, they know who you are, and they care about you, and that is priceless. You can't beat that.
So we've been learning so much from interviewing students and talking to people. It's hard to understand what our students go through, right? But many of you as faculty and staff know because you talk with our students. And Raven explained it so very well, that our people are great. Our staff and student services are great. Our faculty are great. And once they get here, we can help them and we serve them. But our facility is not serving them well. So please talk with the people in student services and ask them what it is that we can do better to improve that. And I think a lot of them will tell you that it really is the facility that we need to improve. Our people are doing the best that they can, but boy, we need a front door. We need a one-stop. And if you can explain that to the community, explain it to your friends and your family, and really help us get out and get the word out about this, it will help. We had Josh Neiswanger on KGAV radio with us. We go on the radio every month on both KFBC and KGAB. And Josh Neiswanger explained it really well, and the light bulb kind of went on for me, and I finally understood it. He said that the students get the bump. And I didn't really understand what he was talking about. As he went on to explain, he said, the student walks in the door and we say, well, thank you and welcome, and please fill out this form. And once you fill it out, then you need to go over here. And then you fill it out and then you need to go over there. And then you fill it out and then you need to go up to accounting and you need to pay up there. And you need to keep going over. And they just keep getting the bump. And it just really made sense to me. And I said, Josh, we really appreciate you sharing that message. And so if we could talk more and have people explain that message more, that we could maybe understand our students' frustration more. And this one-stop shop would really help us to improve our students' experience. And that's really what we want to do with the Student Services building, is have that one-stop shop so that our students have that better experience. So please talk to our friends in Student Services and try to help our students to improve some of those processes. So we're working on some of those things. If Josh would like to go ahead and play the second video, this one is on our, what we're now calling the Flexible Industrial Technology Building. We've added the word industrial, and we did that after we did a group of study groups, some focus groups. Our folks in the community explained that they weren't understanding the word flexible as much, and they really liked the word industrial technology. So we've added the word industrial based on the community's understanding of things. So please go ahead and play that one, Josh.
Laramie County Community College has established a reputation of providing affordable, quality, and responsive education and training to meet the needs of Laramie County. The college is currently graduating and certifying workers in the fields of wind energy technology, automotive technology, auto body repair, HVAC, diesel technology, and more. The increasing development in Laramie County and its surrounding areas, like the Swan Ranch, has and will continue to create a demand for a well-trained workforce in the industrial technology economy. LCCC wants to be the go-to provider for training those workers and keeping them in our community. Developing an industrial technology building will provide space to meet current and future needs of our economy. This building will allow space for our current growing programs to expand, leaving space for other programs to grow or new programs to move in. It's exciting to know that this new space will adapt to meet the future needs of our region, creating educational opportunities to help our students get into careers, not just jobs.
Josh is going to play some interviews from some community leaders. These community folks have been coming to us saying that they're having a hard time finding skilled labor to hire. And these folks have been helping us to drive towards this. It's just a couple of minutes, so we'd like you to see this. This is the last video.
The community colleges work with the local industries. They look at the local opportunities and can adjust their programs to meet those needs very quickly.
That need is going to continue to grow. It's not fully met now, and the need is going to continue to grow. And it's important that the college be able to adapt and have the resources to meet that need.
I see this demand today, but I also see it going forward. We're coming out of a bit of a recession. We're seeing our business start to pick up, and what we lack is a pool of qualified candidates.
I mean, there's kids out there that want to get into a job. They want to get out there and start getting that paycheck right away, and they don't want to go over to Laramie or down to CSU. They want to get out into industry right now.
We have a history of hiring employees, especially entry level, from other process or two-year associate programs, unfortunately out of state. They hit the ground running, they advance through the plants better. The only problem we ran into was they all wanted to go back where they came from.
It's critical for our ability to get new businesses here with that need. It's critical for the ability of businesses who are here to be able to expand. I mean, it's not just about somebody new from the outside coming in.
We are not seeing the quality, we're not seeing the education of folks that we would like to see if they come straight to Dunn-Bell.
We're routinely looking for skilled labor out here, and it's difficult to find. So the opportunities are there for somebody if they have the background and know about it. The opportunities are there.
Do you want to go to the website, Josh? So the website that you've been looking at is fully responsive and works on mobile phones and tablets. You can pull it up on your phone anytime. But I want to caution you to wait until later because you're busy listening to me and Ron right now, right? So Scott, if you want to just kind of flip through the website a little bit, tell them the address again, Scott. Building Forward.
It's LCCbuildingforward.com.
Okay, our website is
buildlCCC.com.
Say that again, right?
buildlCCC.com.
This is Scott Souter. Give him a big round of applause. He's kind of shy. He's a little shy. Go ahead.
Okay, it's buildlCCC.com, and it's responsive. So on this really low resolution monitor, it thinks you're looking at it on a tablet. That's why this is up here. But there's normally a nice little menu across the top. And you can look at it on any device, and it has the same amount of information no matter what device you're looking at it on. It's pretty sweet.
He worked on it until 1:30 last night. How about a round of applause for Josh Thine as well? These guys have been working very hard. Thank you very much. Scott's going to kill me for handing him the microphone. All right, thanks, guys. Okay, Ron, I'm handing it back over to you. If my folks who are running the lights would like to turn the lights back on, I would really appreciate it.
All right, Lisa. So that gets us through the first third of our program, and so pretty excited about that. Woo! Should have put on more deodorant. It's hot in here. Okay. Okay, so each one of you, I think in front of you, have one of these cards right here, right? It says endorsement, right? So if you're in support of the campaign, and if you would like that to be public knowledge, then we would be glad to put that in the newspaper publication. And we're going to list all the folks' names who are in support of the campaign. Hopefully that will take, will attract attention of others to take notice of some of the folks that are supporting the campaign. So if you can fill that out, I think we're giving away a special prize. I think Lisa was going to give, I can't remember how much money it was for everyone that turned in a card on the way out the door. Okay, but I'll let you hash that out with her. But anyway, in all seriousness, I mean, this is very, very important to provide an endorsement for this campaign. Obviously, we need as many folks as possible to make sure that that we're supporting this thing. I mean, if it's not in your particular department, hey, we're all in this thing together. Again, this is about students, this is about our community, this is about growth, and this is about attracting more students and more opportunities to this college and to this community. So the next card that you've got there is a yellow card. And I just know, feel it, that everyone's going to fill one of these out. Right?
Yes. I feel good about this.
Yeah, I think I'm getting some blank stares.
I feel
So the yellow card is volunteer opportunities. And here's how you can volunteer. This is how easy it is. You fill out this card, and you provide it to Lisa Murphy, and we will make sure that you get a sign in your yard that supports this campaign. How's that for a volunteer opportunity?
Pretty good.
Right? That's a pretty good deal, right? Doesn't cost you anything. Your dogs can use it, cats can use it, whatever, but just leave it up so it's standing, okay? That's important. Okay, so obviously we're going to need a huge amount of help because remember what I talked about before in the campaign. This is really about information and education. And we need as much support as we can possibly have from as many people as we can possibly get to help spread the word and educate and provide information to the voter base who will be going to the ballot box on November 5th. So if you would like to help canvass neighborhoods to distribute that information, we would greatly appreciate it. And I'm sure that I will have my 3 little boys out with me, and they'll be handing stuff out too, okay? And so we're all going to participate in this thing together. If you'd like to obviously participate in some other activities and how you can help, it's on here. But if you also have any questions at all, you can always go and talk to Lisa. You can talk to me. You can certainly reach me. My email is raybofarms@gmail.com. Feel free to email me anytime you want to, and we'll be glad to help out as much as we can. But again, education and information, and the most important place for education right now is for you all to educate yourselves. We hope that you're a little bit more educated now than before we showed up. But go to the website, like Lisa said, buildlccc.com or lccbuildingforward.com.
Yes.
Yeah, both of those. Okay, both of those work. So go there and make sure that you're educating yourselves. So when you have folks that ask you questions, first of all, don't answer a question if you really don't know the answer, but get enough education so you can hopefully get the information so that you can do that and provide it to the folks in the community. So that's all for me, and Lisa's going to wrap it up.
Okay.
Thanks for your time today, too. I know it's super hot in here, so we appreciate it.
So tomorrow we will begin the campaign. We'll be moving forward with postal card mailings. We're going to send some letters to all registered voters. These brochures will go out in the mail. We'll begin the full-fledged campaign through the foundation office. We'll be going out to every community group possible. Dr. Schaefer will be very busy. Lisa Trimble has basket by the door. I think Ty Stockton or Tucker has one right back here. Sorry, now you look like Ty back there in the dark. You look like everyone, Tucker. But we certainly appreciate all of your help. I believe that we can all come together and build this forward, much like we did the Health Sciences campaign. We appreciate all of your help and support. It just did my heart good to see you all come in your blue shirts today and having the support that we had today. I would like to open it up for a Q&A session. We do have our Board of Trustees here. Dr. Schaefer is here available. I'm sure that some of you have some questions, and we have microphones available. So, Ron, if you'd like to take one. Trustees, if you would like to come forward, please. These folks might have some questions for you. Are there any questions? Does anyone have a question?
Does anyone have any questions before we wrap up?
Any questions about the campaign or anything that we're doing? Yes.
I've been involved in these types of campaigns before, and typically when we go out and we would talk to the public, one big question we got from community members was, we like the idea of this. We think a new building is really important. However, have you built in the costs of maintenance for those buildings into the future? Because it seems like those are always areas that we don't know about, and then we're hit with something later on down the road in regards to maintenance costs. So just looking for that as we go out and campaign, and if that question comes to us, how would we answer that?
Yeah, good question, Terry. Hi, Kevin.
Hi. You want me to take this question?
You want to answer it? No, I want you to take a harder one. Actually, now, Dan, make sure I get this right. No. So one of the requirements we have with new facilities, especially where we ask for state funding, is that as part of the construction planning process, we have to create, and I think it's a 7-year, I'm not positive about that, but essentially a sinking fund with new facilities. And so the process that the state goes through is an incremental process that goes towards major maintenance. And so they will not fully fund major maintenance until facilities, I think they're 7 years old. So as part of the project, there's actually costs. You can see it in there. I think it's under contingency and reserve. It's about $3 million. That's associated with the sinking funds, the building reserve funds for maintenance over the first few years.
I'm only taking questions that I know the answer to.
Yes, ma'am. Kathy.
I have a question. A great presentation to begin with about the learning commons and the mission there. However, on our strategic plan, there's nothing about this building project, and I'm sure the community as I want to know where does this fit in? Because I would like to support that project, but we don't see any cohesiveness here in the overall building plan.
Testing. Yeah, it is working. This is such a tiny microphone. I thought I was going to have to talk in a little tiny voice to make it work. There actually were a whole bunch of things that Joe mentioned and were on the slides that I think maybe went past people because they went past quickly. But Joe talked about making LCCC more entrepreneurial. And we're not very entrepreneurial now, partially because we have such fixed spaces in place on the campus, and we need flexible space, and that's what these buildings are going to provide. They're going to provide flexible space for technology programs, but we've also got flexible presentation space, flexible classroom space, and flexible service space in all these buildings, and we have to have flexible space if we're going to be entrepreneurial. Otherwise, we just fight the infrastructure. Oh.
My question was, in the timeline and the funding issues and getting money, where does the Learning Commons expansion fit in?
Yeah, good question, and actually his points are relevant. One thing, the 8-year facilities plan, the Building Forward plan, outside of I think it's the 6th priority, the campus facelift, that plan is really focused on new capital construction. So residence halls, fine arts, building, industrial techs, new construction. If you look, and even what's in the strategic plan, there's a significant strategy that's dealing with facilities renovations. And Mary knows this, Karen knows this, that I believe the trustees are supportive and we're supportive. When we start to create swing space and we start to look at how we can start to move people around, there will be significant internal renovations and external renovations. And I think the Learning Commons is really coming together and showing some pretty good promise. And I can tell you this, I can't tell you exactly how much money and where it's at, but we're already building funds that would help support that project alone. So the Building Forward plan and what you see in that those 5 main projects are new construction. But in the strategic plan, we are going to go full bore and try to renovate and create space. And as Kevin pointed out, when we free up space because of the new buildings, that gives us the opportunity to start moving people around and do those renovations. Other questions?
I have a pretty simple one. Has the floor plans on both these buildings been finalized yet? And what stage are they in on that front?
Good question, Seth. No, and the process in which we are moving through, and that's one of the struggles when you start putting schematics out and they have floor plans. The state requires us to go through essentially a 3-phase process, and that's why you'll hear us talk about level 1 planning, level 2 planning, and level 3 planning, and those types of things. Level 1 planning is essentially going out and say, is there actually a need? Level 2 is what's called the feasibility plan. That's what we're finishing right now. And so what that means is we essentially say, what all do you need space for? And what do you think the budget is going to bear? And can we feasibly design a facility to accommodate that all? But what they call schematic design, where we actually get to the floor plans, the space design that lead right up to the construction drawings, that happens in level 3. And right now the way the system works, we actually will have to have local funds and state funds, then we'll implement level 3. So I think there's great opportunity yet for how those buildings will actually be laid out in their floor space. And so it is very flexible at this point, and so we still got work to do in actually deciding how those floor plans may lay out. And I believe, I think I can say this for you, the trustees are adamant that we want to keep that flexible and we don't want to get to that point. We want to move forward with that vein. So floor plans are not locked in at this point.
I'd just speak to that part where we're looking at not final on those plans. I made a point of speaking to that at the last board meeting and asking a couple of times, this is not the solution. And I think that's what we have to understand. Those of you who've gone through some of these building processes, such the business building or the remodeling of the part of the fine arts and some of that, those changes occur right up until the last minute in many cases, and even some of those changes are made as work order changes. But that's one thing that concerned me. I really agree with you on that, because when I first looked at this, I'm going, what's this doing here? What's that doing there? And why did they decide on this part? And that's where I really felt comfortable then, knowing that this has a lot of work for the people who are going to be there, the people who are going to use it. Others on the campus who are going to be a part of that process. And I would hope, Joe, that we definitely know that people are going to be involved in the process of finalizing those plans, but that's quite a ways off yet. And in having gone through this with the state, as Joe mentioned, in terms of how do you get to this point, I was so happy this last time that we came in 1 and 2 statewide for these plans. That shows the need, the model that was developed 2 years ago. I think I had some issues going on, and I came back and found that we had dropped off from being at least one on one of those projects. And there were a lot of political things that go on out there, but I don't want to drag you into that ballgame, but rather say we have the support. The administration here has worked very closely with the state in terms of this new building process that we move forward with. And I wouldn't say the politics are out of it, because they're never out of it. But we've got a much better, much firmer process now. And so I look forward to seeing this move ahead in a very positive way.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the economy. You hear rumors that the economy is getting better, but you also hear that it's still an inflated economy, a false economy, that it still could fall out from below us, and that also the future of like the coal industry and stuff like that, where we get a lot of our money from the natural resources here in the state. How safe is it right now to be spending $40-some million?
Well, I would put that in the context of a lot of other things. From my perspective on the board, it just looks like the stars are aligned right now. I know that people still have some concerns about the economy, and there's some concerns about Wyoming's economy being just a couple of horses here, one being natural gas and another being coal. But nonetheless, Ron did a good job of telling you exactly what it's going to cost. And we're talking on $200,000 of assessed valuation, $38 a year. That's not really that much. But if you look at the other things that are really important right now, we have a community that does not have much indebtedness. People are amenable to supporting such a project if it's formulated right. We have unbelievably low borrowing costs right now. I just can't believe that this environment will last much longer, and we should take advantage of it when we can, and we have the need. So there, the 4 major planets are aligned.
Other questions? Oh, Jason, do we?
All right. He's going to run it down
now. My question, or I guess maybe my observation, is this: I've heard, and I'll need to look at the blueprints as well. But you were talking about presentation space. Perhaps, I don't know what this looks like. Is this a large room, as we're talking about here? Perhaps it's a small or mid-sized auditorium. I think I would just offer this observation, that if this facility goes forward and it's built, and that's all well and good and marvelous, and then we start talking about, as we were talking about a moment ago, things moving around, and all of a sudden student services opens up. I share some pretty valuable real estate with the other side of student services, and I would just like to say that a small or medium-sized auditorium suitable for speakers or many of the things that we might fund through the foundation, through cultural events and affairs, this is not a theater. So I'd just like to put that out there.
I don't know if that's a question, but I think an observation, and I think it's a fair observation. Just quickly, so yes, there is within the conceptual design and the programming of that building, there is a large assembly space. And it's actually one of the areas when we went through the master planning process that we really saw a deficit on this campus, a large assembly space. This is our large assembly space, and it is really our only large assembly space. Its primary functions, though, will be for internal student activities, campus activities, and community activities. It is not intended to try to usurp or even get ahead of addressing the need we have for cultural and performing space, as well as performance instructional space. It does create an opportunity by freeing up other space look at some of those things. And those are all the elements that we'll have to start dealing with in terms of planning as we start to see the buildings progress at this point. But initially, that's large assembly space that's intended to be flexible, that is really going to try to take some relief off of this room and create a better environment when we start to get large crowds out here. And I think we've all sort of experienced that in this facility at times. Yeah. Other questions, comments? I know you all have schedules and you probably have rumbling stomachs as well. I think my trustees would be happy to stay if there are any follow-up questions. I'll hang around for a few minutes. Maybe they wouldn't be happy to stay, but I could maybe encourage them to stay. But please come on up if you have questions. Thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your in-service.